mission I'm asking you to volunteer for is exceptionally dangerous. Take a look at the man beside you. It's a good bet that in the next 6 weeks, you or he will be dead. Everyone brave enough to accept this, step forward. Your grandmother could take a B-25 off on a mile-long runway. Well, I'm going to train you to do it in 467 feet. Because at 468 feet, you're dead. And once you get it up, you're going to learn to fly it like a fighter. 30 feet off the ground. I want you to say hello to Lieutenant Jack Richards, Navy Aviation. He's going to help us lighten these fat ladies here.
Pearl Harbor is directed by Michael Bay. This film stars Ben Affleck as Lieutenant Rafe McCauley, Josh Hartnett as Lieutenant Danny Walker, Kate Beckinsale as Lieutenant Evelyn Johnson, Ewan Bremer as Red, Alec Baldwin as Colonel Doolittle, Jamie King as Betty, Jennifer Garner as Sandra, John Voight as President of the United States Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Cuba Gooding Jr. as Dory Miller, Michael Shannon as Lieutenant Goose Wood, Mako as Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, Colin Fiore as Admiral Kimmel, Dan Aykroyd as Captain Thurman, William Bickner as Danny's father, Glenn Morshauer as Rear Admiral William F. Bull Halsey Jr., Tom Sizemore as Earl, Leland Orser as Major Jackson, and Eric Christian Olsen as Gunner. This film is based on the true events, the attack by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan on the U.S. Pacific Fleet that happened on Sunday, December 7th, 1941 at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. This is an action drama historical movie. This movie is rated PG-13 for sustained, intense war sequences, images of wounded and dead people, brief sensuality, and some language. I would say this film would be good for anyone 17 years of age and older. Pearl Harbor has a runtime of 3 hours and 3 minutes. The film was released in theaters in the United States on May 25th, 2001. This was one of the worst attacks on the United States of America. What is scary is that almost 4 months after the release of this film, Pearl Harbor, came out, the worst terror attack in history on the United States of America happened when Al-Qaeda terrorists, at the orders of terrorist leader Osama bin Laden, hijacked 4 American airliners: American Airlines Flight 11, United Airlines Flight 175, American Airlines Flight 77, and United Airlines Flight 93 were hijacked. The terrorists would use 2 of these planes to strike the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, New York. They used another plane to hit the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. The 4th plane failed to hit its target, which was supposed to be either the Capitol building or the White House in Washington, D.C., because of the heroic actions of the passengers and crew on board Flight United 93. Unfortunately, both of the Twin Towers collapsed after being hit. During the September 11th terror attacks in 2001, 2,977 victims and 19 hijackers were killed, and more than 6,000 others were wounded and injured. The immediate deaths included 265 on board the 4 planes, including the terrorists, then 2,606 in the World Trade Center and in the surrounding area, and 125 at the Pentagon. Okay, so back to this movie. Pearl Harbor won the Oscar for Best Sound Editing. It also was nominated for Best Original Song by Faith Hill entitled There You'll Be. The film was also nominated for Best Sound and Best Visual Effects. Hans Zimmer did the score for this movie, which was magnificent, and in my opinion should have been nominated or even won the Oscar for Best Score. So this film is a tale of war and romance mixed in with history. Rafe McCauley and Danny Walker are best friends who are also pilots. When World War II breaks out in Europe, the United States of America chooses not to join the war, but they train nonetheless. So Rafe and Danny join the Army Air Corps. Rafe falls for a nurse named Evelyn Johnson, but when he gets the opportunity to join the British Air Corps, he jumps at it. Shortly after he leaves, he gets shot down and is reported killed. Danny and Evelyn, who were both stationed in Pearl Harbor, lean on each other after learning the tragic news of Rafe's death. Danny and Evelyn end up falling in love, but suddenly Rafe returns, and when he finds out about them, he freaks out. Rafe is now at odds with Danny, feeling as though Danny betrayed him, but suddenly, on the morning of Sunday, December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor is attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. During the invasion, Danny and Rafe are able to make it back to an airfield that hasn't been hit yet and get into their planes, and they shoot down some of the Japanese planes that are attacking. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt decides to retaliate against Japan, and Colonel Doolittle is placed in charge of a mission to take B-25 bomber planes and bomb Tokyo. Doolittle asks Rafe and Danny to join the mission. They both accept, knowing their chances of coming back are slim. So that's the overall synopsis of the movie. Before I go into my positives and negatives, guys, I'd like to mention something about how this movie was received and its accuracy or inaccuracy. So there's a lot of people out there who say that this film is inaccurate. Well, after doing some research myself and then watching the making of the film, I can say that about 90 to 95% of this movie is very accurate. Now, there are some things that are inaccurate, but not that many. There were technical advisors on the set, and a lot of veterans who were stationed in Pearl Harbor at the time of the attack were on set as well to advise the writers and director Michael Bay, and also the actors as well, about how things went down, and they would be there to advise the main actors as well. Michael Bay and the main actors were quoted as saying that they wanted to tell the story with as much accuracy as possible. So, I mean, yes, this film has inaccuracies, but from my research and everything that I saw and everything that I watched, it's pretty spot on accurate. Why they call this movie inaccurate, I don't know. And I've read some books about Pearl Harbor, and from what I've read, the movie looks pretty authentic. But, you know, you're always going to have those people out there who say that, you know, it's not accurate, it's not this, it's not that, so whatever. I'm not going to get into that on this video. So let's talk about my negatives for this film. I think that they put the love story in this film because the screenwriters and directors were still trying to cash off of what James Cameron's Titanic did with the love story. I will admit I liked the love story, but I felt like that it did drag out way too long, much longer than it should have, and that it took away from the build-up of the attack and then the aftermath and America's retaliation against Japan. Another negative complaint I have is the character of Red, played by Ewan Brimmer. Now, I really like Ewan Brimmer as an actor. I've seen him in a lot of different things. He's a really good actor. I enjoyed the character of Red. I thought he was charming and funny. But the stutter thing that his character does is just flat out ridiculous and annoying. And it's like this weird, long, constant clicking type sound that he does. Maybe it's just when he's nervous or something, but I think they overused it in this film, and it just gets irritating after a while. So, but those are all my negatives. As far as the positives for this film is wonderful, and it really takes you back to that era in the 1940s and makes you feel like you were actually there with these characters. Most of the film was actually shot in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Michael Bay really shows us the beauty of Hawaii and Pearl Harbor with these awesome wide shots. The canvas is huge and it's beautiful. I really like how before the attack, the film is very bright and colorful, and then during and after the attack, the film goes from being very bright and colorful to using a lot of darker colors like dark blues, dark browns, and grays. The cast is awesome with great acting talents and all-star names. I have to give credit, though, to one actor in this film, and that is Jon Voight. He really brings President Roosevelt to life and gives such a powerful performance in this film as the president. I mean, you really believe he is the president in this film. He is one of the best on-screen presidents that I've ever seen. In my opinion, he should have won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role as President Roosevelt in this film, Pearl Harbor. Again, the score was by Hans Zimmer, and it's great. It's very powerful and very patriotic sounding. Hans Zimmer, he does it again with another great score. The film uses a combination of practical effects and sets, as well as CGI that looks really flawless. The Pentagon and the Department of the Navy let Michael Bay use some of the Navy's ships to stand in for ships that were actually at Pearl Harbor at the time. During the scenes of the Doolittle raid, the USS Lexington aircraft carrier, which is now a decommissioned carrier and museum in the port of Corpus Christi, Texas, was used during the filming of Pearl Harbor. She was altered to resemble a Japanese carrier and the USS Hornet aircraft carrier in which the B-25 bomber planes took off from during the Doolittle raid. The Battleship Texas was also used in the film. The USS Texas stood in for the various battleships that were attacked on December 7th, 1941. Some of the ship's interiors were also used to portray the interior of the aircraft carrier, the USS Hornet, later on in the film. So, yeah, some history about some real ships actually played a part in this film, which is really, really cool and really, really interesting. Let's talk about my final grade for this film. Pearl Harbor, it gets a very strong A-. I really enjoy Michael Bay as a director. I really like a lot of movies he does, and I like a lot of movies about history and stuff like that. Now, I don't like all Michael Bay films, but this one is right up there with Armageddon, and Armageddon is my favorite movie of all time, and so yeah, this one is not too far behind it. I hope to visit and go on vacation to Hawaii one day, and when I do, I plan to visit Pearl Harbor and the USS Arizona Memorial and all the other memorials as well. All in all, I did watch Midway the other day, the newest film that came out in 2019 about the Battle of Midway. If I had to compare Pearl Harbor to Midway or any recent films about World War II, I like Pearl Harbor better than Midway. Now, Pearl Harbor does run a pretty close race with Hacksaw Ridge, which is another World War II film that I really like. But yeah, this movie, Pearl Harbor, is great, guys. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. I recommend it. It's one of my favorites. I don't watch it all the time, but it's one that, I don't know, it's just one that I have a lot of respect for. I guess since, you know, it's about something that's real and really happened. So anyway, that's all I have for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to my videos and my channel, go ahead and go down to the bottom of this video, click the subscribe button, go ahead and hit that thumbs up and give me a like for this video. Also hit the notification bell so you'll know when I have new stuff posted, and give me some comments as well. So thank you again so much for watching. I love you guys. God bless, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
When the action is over and we look back, we understand both more and less. This much is certain. Before the Doolittle raid, America knew nothing but defeat. After it, nothing but victory. Japan realized for the first time that they could lose and began to pull back. America realized that she would win and surged forward. It was a war that changed America. Dory Miller was the first Black American to be awarded the Navy Cross, but he would not be the last. He joined a brotherhood of heroes.
That's for all the raiders.
World War II for us began at Pearl Harbor, and 1,177 men still lie entombed in the battleship Arizona. America suffered, but America grew stronger. It was not inevitable. The times tried our souls, and through the trial, we overcame.